Hopefully you're aware that the Nasdaq 100 is going to rebalance effective July the 24th. That would be next Monday. And what the ramifications of that rebalance might be. I notified my tribe members on Friday that I was basically going to take profits out of any of the Magnificent Seven that were going to be affected by the rebalance so that I could practice some risk management. I'm not sure what the effect will be. I recognize that there is going to be a surge of sale of the Magnificent Seven as a result of them being in so many ETFs and mutual funds. I think the number is somewhere around $300 billion worth of funds in these seven stocks that will be reduced in each of these ETFs, and the largest of which is the QQQs. What I want to do in this video is share with you my knowledge of this and what I think is going to happen and what is the prudent action to be taken. This is not financial advice. This is just sharing with you what I've done in anticipation of this change. And there are two other things that are going to happen at the same time that I think you need to practice some risk management at this point.
Best of Us Investors presents Kerry Griegmeyer.
Now, I hold each of the Magnificent Seven, other than Tesla, in my Bus 13 portfolio, which happens to be, as a total, there's 20 stocks in there. That's up 100% thus far this year. In these Magnificent Seven, you have Microsoft, which is the largest holding, representing 12.9% of the Nasdaq 100. It's up 39%. Apple is up 45% year to date and represents 12.5% of the Nasdaq 100. Nvidia's up 188%, representing 7%. Amazon's up 51%, representing 6.9%. Tesla's up 118, representing 4.5%, and Meta is up 144, representing 4.3%, and Google is up about 32%, and it represents about 7.4% of the Nasdaq 100, and thus all the ETFs that mirror the Nasdaq 100, the QQQs. So with that in mind, there's going to be a rush. I calculate that they're going to have to sell, as for Microsoft as an example, about $3.17 billion worth of the holdings in Microsoft within all of these funds, and Microsoft selling at $343 per share. That means there's probably going to be sold at the open of the market on Monday, 9.25 million shares of Microsoft. Now, what does that represent? It represents about 37% of an average day's trading. So envision that at the open of the market, 37% of what would have normally traded throughout that day is going to be traded at the opening bell. That's how I read that it's going to happen. That could potentially make more sellers than buyers. What happens when there's more sellers than buyers? The price of the stock goes down. Okay? If that happens, and I have prudently exercised some risk management, as I did last Friday, and take my profits out of the 6 stocks that I own of the Magnificent Seven, in anticipation that this drop could happen, it presents a tremendous buying opportunity for me. Meaning that if it drops 5%, below where I sold it last Friday, I just probably made a 5% gain. Now, the other elements that you got to recognize that are going to happen that's just going to screw this up all even more is this is also when the Magnificent Seven are going to be coming out with their quarterly earnings reports. So that throws a shade of doubt on top of the whole thing. And then in the same space of time, we have the Fed giving their announcement of whether they're going to raise interest rates or not, and the consensus is they are. So as a risk manager, and that's what I have to be if I manage my portfolio, I have to say there may be an accident coming. So I'm going to put on my seatbelt, and I'm going to pull back, sit back in my seat, hang on to the steering wheel, and take some of my profits out. In case there's an accident, I'm protected. And I'm put in more importantly, I'm put in an opportunity to magnify my gains. I've built this bus portfolio. As I said, year to date, it's up 100%. I've built it on the basis that over the next 5 years, I'm going to average a return of 34%. Well, if I can pick up an extra 5 just by maneuvering some stocks, and again, I trade in a large part in my IRAs, so I'm not exposed to capital gains, and I trade with a broker that doesn't charge me for trades, so it's a win-win-win. Even if nothing happens, okay? This is what I want to do for you. I want you to have a source, a place that you can go where you can ask questions. How do you do that? Well, we have a stock talk every Friday. It's a Zoom call where the participants in the tribe come and ask questions, and we interchange ideas. I learn from them. They learn from me. I have a couple of Bill and Brian and a number of people who are constantly feeding me ideas. In fact, this was brought to my attention by Trent, my son. He asked me, he says, he asked me last Friday, are you taking some of your profits off the table? And I said, why? He said, because the Nasdaq is going to rebalance their portfolio. And he and I talked about it, and we said, what are the ramifications of that? They've only done it twice before. I think once was back in 11, and then I think once sometime in the 70s. And I can't really find any information as to what the effects were in the past, but still, the situation is very different right now, particularly when you throw in the two other variables of the earnings reports are coming out in the same roughly week, and then you have the Federal Reserve announcing on their rates. So here is the schedule. July 14th, they detailed the changes that were going to be made. And then on July 4th, the balancing will take effect at markets open. So that's what I've learned about it. And again, I think of each of these stocks as the beneficiaries of what's happening in the market, and that, or in the world, I should say, and that is artificial intelligence, which will lead us to machine learning. And these are the people, for the most part, who have the data. That's why they have grown so rapidly, and that's how they have gotten into the position they are of a disproportionate share of the Nasdaq 100. I think it is 55% of the gains that have occurred over the past year in the Nasdaq 100 have come from the Magnificent Seven. So they're skewed. So I just wanted you to be aware of this is happening, and then you do your due diligence. If you want to be upfront on this and participate in what we're doing, I ask you to get on the bus. The bus is a place where we share our knowledge. We've been doing it over our Discord. Effective by the end of this month, we will launch our website. And if you're more familiar or comfortable on websites, you'll see the bus portfolio, a live portion of it. It's done through Google Sheets that updates it on a 15-minute basis. So you'll see all the research that I have done on the 20 or so stocks that are in it, the historical research, then what they've done on a weekly, a monthly, a year-to-date, and an annual basis, and then a 5-year, a 10-year, and a 20-year, that gives me comfort that I'm going to achieve my 34% annualized gain over the next 5 years. Then I'm building what I call the Bus 12, and that is who's going to deliver all of this artificial intelligence to us. What companies are going to change you and I's lives the most, and thus reap the highest profits in the future, so that I want to be a part of them. I will give you a clue, is that what's happening now in Bus 13 is the hardware. The hardware is being rebuilt. The computers that are in the data farms are being rebuilt so that they can handle this increased load they're going to receive as a result of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Then it's going to become, rather than a hardware change, it's going to become a software change. And that is, who's going to take all that data that now has all that computing power about it and make your life better? That's it in a nutshell. That's what I do is search to find those companies that are going to make a difference in my life, in your life, and are probably going to make me a multimillionaire. Okay, I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer. I'm a retired financial planner. Those plaques are a CFP, a CHFC, and a CLU. I'm not yet a chartered financial analyst, but I'm working on it. I'll talk to you more about this tomorrow.